Talk Live. My name is Jeff DeVerter, Chief Technology Evangelist around here, and I'm having fun with the extra camera, letting you see a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes. But enough of that. Let's get into this episode of Cloud Talk Live. Well, good morning, everyone. It is, I wish I could take the camera and a microphone and just point it out my window. It's a rainy day in San Antonio. And let me tell you, we never get rainy days in San Antonio these days, unfortunately. It's a sad state of affairs with the drought that's going on, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately. But, at any rate, we get to spend some time here on another episode of Cloud Talk Live. I forgot to play the music. I just played the wrong music. Sometimes it goes smooth. Sometimes it doesn't go quite as smooth as you might want it to. But what I do want to do is get into the meat of the matter. So if you are here and you're watching this show, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell me who you are. Tell me where you are in the world. And clicky button here. There we are. Now it's all working. And introduce yourselves. This is so much more fun when we get to talk to each other and know each other's names. You know me. I would love to know who you are and where you are. Well, folks, here on Cloud Talk Live, this is part of our Solve program here at Rackspace. So if you go over to rackspace.com/solve, SOLVE, well, there's all sorts of thought leadership content over there. And you know what's not there? Sales material. No, it's just stuff there to help make you a more informed technology individual, whether you're an architect, whether you're an IT leader, whether you're a decision maker, whether you're in IT sales, doesn't matter where you are. Maybe you're just IT curious. Who knows? But I'm just glad that you're here. Like Susan Price, who's here. Welcome back, Susan, to the show. Kimberly Kelly's here from Dallas. Lagos, Nigeria, making another appearance. I'm so glad that you're here. Mexico's here. Hey, if you're Spanish speaking, we got my guest is from Venezuela. We'll see if we get to speak any Spanish today. My Spanish is horrible, but hers is fantastic. She grew up speaking it. All right, who else do we have here? We've got Chris, college professor. Hey, here to learn a few more things. Maybe you should come on and teach us a few things. Who else do we have? Dave Borgin is here. The Nerd Guy LLC out of Memphis. Memphis, Michigan? I didn't know there was a Memphis, Michigan. Not as famous as Graceland, I guess. But I would love to learn more about you, David, and what you've got going on, the Nerd Guy. India is, of course, here, one of our larger populations, geographically speaking, who show up are our good friends over in India. Well, folks, as I mentioned, this is Cloud Talk Live. This is the show where we get in and tell you all the things that are going on, and all of this audio makes its way down into the podcast stream. That's right, which means that if you subscribe to the podcast Cloud Talk, there's a great new episode out there with my good friend Mark. Well, then you're going to get not only that original content over there, but you're also going to get content, the audio from these. So should you miss it, you're still going to get it. Hey, Mark's here from Cleveland. Mark, I was just out in Columbus. Was I in Columbus? That's where I was. I was there for a day. It's a beautiful city. First time I was there. Atlanta, Georgia, making a show. Chicago, Illinois. When I went to Columbus, I flew through Chicago. In fact, we're going to talk about all of our guests through the lens of Jeff's crazy travel schedule, which is too much, might I add. All right, well, before we get in here and get our guest up here, I had a few things I wanted to visit with you about. Really just one primary thing, and that is how the cloud environment is constantly changing. You may have heard it before. You may be a cloud architect-y type person who creates an application one day and with great architecture and pulls all the bits together to make this amazing cloud native thing. And the next day, your cloud of choice comes along and has created that as a service, and you get to re-architect it. It's an interesting example of how the cloud evolves on a day-to-day basis. Well, that's how the cloud evolves on a technical basis. Let's talk about how the cloud evolves both on a technical basis as well as in a business context. And I'm interested to know your thoughts as I go through this. So just kind of think about this for a second. So we all know, and I just gave an example of how the cloud technically evolves. But if we go back in time to how the cloud really started, well, we know that AWS was really first out of the gate. They took the technology that they created to run the bookstore, which became the big retail store, and made that available, first as storage and simple compute through the lens of VMs, and now it's 1,000,001 different services. I may be off a little, it may be 1,000,002 now. But last year, around this time, I would imagine that Microsoft is having some very interesting conversations with the folks over at OpenAI, to the point that when January comes around here in 2023, they're making announcements of a $10 billion investment, 59% stake in OpenAI. And very quickly, it looked like it happened instantaneously. But I think there was some engineering going on behind the scenes, maybe even starting about now, this time last year, to where you get to the point mid-year this year and you find these AI technologies showing up all throughout Microsoft's stack. They call it Copilot. And whether that is showing up inside of your office environment, whether that's in Outlook, whether it's helping you as in prompts inside of Word, whether it's helping you architect solutions inside of the cloud itself, or letting you play what's the story behind the numbers in your Power BI dashboards. OpenAI and generative AI now finds itself inside of the Microsoft stack all up, and it's coming faster and furious every day, to the point that now there are articles being written about how AWS, wait for it, has to catch up. Can you believe that? In this short amount of time, hero doesn't go to zero, but now they're playing catch up, especially in the AI game. In fact, when you look at the growth of those clouds, you find that AWS now the power of numbers is really starting to hurt them as well, meaning there are so many people using it that the percentages really start to go down, even when they continue to grow at blistering rates. But it is slowing. Can you believe that AI is really that thing? Now you find about 2 weeks ago, Microsoft, AWS makes this massive investment in their own generative AI platform, committing to $4 billion of infrastructure spend with them over time, I forget the timeline, but now they're using that to be that Kickstarter for them. And that really begs the question is, as the cloud evolves, both on a business and on a technical level, how does that impact you? So as we go through our chat today, now our chat doesn't get into tons of cloudy things, but I would love to hear your thoughts in and around how the cloud's evolution, both on the business and technical side, is both helping and maybe even hurting your own efforts. Now, I'm going to pull Mark's comment here up, where Mark says, any talks with NVIDIA to help them get customers for their new processing services? Well, there's a lot going on there. Actually, Rackspace, I'm not here to pitch Rackspace, but Rackspace has entered into an agreement with them. If you're going to any of the conferences this year, VMware Explore, Dell Technologies World, we just came back from Google Next, we got Microsoft Ignite coming up, and followed by AWS's reInvent. NVIDIA's at all of them. They've got it's pretty incredible. They are the golden child. You know, if you go back 10 years, you know, they were the darling of the gamers. You know, locked in their fancy little rooms. You know, rooms that maybe were a big fat mess, like this one. But now they're the darlings of everything because they've got the engine and the power that really is pulling it together. So lots going on in and around AI. You can expect a lot more AI conversations happening in and around here, but that's not all we're going to do around here today. In fact, let's push this little button and let me introduce you to my guest here today. My guest is Leidy Pérez. Now, Leidy is... she's a VP here at Rackspace inside of our technology world. Now, you say Rackspace Technology, that means she's VP of everything? Well, specifically, you know, we've got products and services that we make available to our customers. But we also have a bunch of IT that makes the place run, whether that is in CRM systems, whether that is in our Salesforce stuff or other areas. You know, somebody's got to look after all of that stuff. And the young lady I've got along for us today is the person who helps lead a lot of that stuff. So let's bring Leidy up onto the stage, Daniel. Hey, there she is, right early from outside of Boulder, Colorado. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Steph. How are you doing today? I feel a lot of energy.
What was that you said?
I feel a lot of energy going on, even though you have a rainy day going on. I feel like the energy is going today.
Absolutely, the energy is going. Now, I do have to say, I do distinctly sent you one invitation to this event, and you brought two individuals to the show.
I did. I'm sorry. Nala is actually who's running the technology side of Rackspace. I feel like everyone should know who actually is running.
Oh, look at that.
So she's a start. I did see that some people were saying that they were joining with her thoughts. So we have something for everyone here.
That's right. This show is all inclusive. We're here to make sure everybody has a great time. Now, you are in Rackspace terms, or in any company's terms, a relatively new employee here to Rackspace. Been here, what'd you tell me, a couple of 3, 4, 27, 30, 100 months?
So 3 months and 2 days, it feels like it's been at least 14, I would say. Rackspace time is like a vortex of time, but it's actually 3 months and 2 days.
3 months and 2 days. That's fantastic. So, and what is your real? I gave a bit of what you do here, but what is it you actually do for us here at Rackspace?
I mean, you told people that I don't run everything, which I guess is fine, but I do run all of our go-to-market solutions. That includes our Salesforce platform. It includes the website where you see a lot of these things. It includes anything that has to do with our quote to cash operations across the business. And I also support our private cloud part of the organization. So when you think about the technology in the backend that supports all of the operations for private cloud, Brian Lilly, who's the president over at Private Cloud and Rackspace Technology, works with me to build those solutions from a technology perspective.
All
So
right, so
that's
I sit corrected. You really do kind of look after most
all.
all of it. It
Thanks.
rolls up to you. So, which is
Yes,
why your 3 months and 2 days feels like 14 months and 75 days.
correct. Yes.
Well, I'm so glad that you are here. And there's so much for us to talk about. We can get into the technology. I do want to do that a little bit. In fact, let's start with your education. You know, you came to the U.S. to pursue a master's. What was that in?
So I had done my undergrad in telecommunications engineering. I was one of those people that was lucky enough to know what I wanted to be fairly on. So I did what in Venezuela is electrical engineering with a focus on telecommunications. And then I came to the US and I did a master's on network automation and telecom policy. So network automation is where I actually wanted to be. I knew that I didn't want to necessarily be in a data center every day, just logging into a command line, sending every command for telecommunications. I wanted to be on the software side of it. The
Right.
policy was more when you think about the ceiling that an immigrant may find when they move to a country, policy is something that would have never heard in Venezuela. Maybe we would have
Mm.
known what the FCC was, maybe we would have heard some things, but you wouldn't have the knowledge that to actually be able to operate in the US. So that's why I chose both of those things on the network automation side and then telecom policy. And I did it here at CU Boulder, which is a beautiful campus. So
Well, you've said several things we need to unpack. You said the name Venezuela. You are not a natural born citizen of the U.S. You are a
correct.
beloved immigrant from
Yes.
Venezuela. You spent your entire life there. In fact, you're born there. Where were you born in Venezuela?
So I was born in Caracas, but I also lived in a bunch of cities, Puerto La Cruz, Valencia. Valencia is where I moved from to the US, but all of my life I was there, and I've been in the US for 8 years now. So if you think about it, it's almost a blip in my history of my life. It's Venezuela
Yeah.
is truly what made me me and what is the core of my essence. And then I've been for a little while in the US.
So, what is something that you think the world doesn't necessarily know about Venezuela that you think they should?
I think that we're extremely joyful people. And the reason why that's the piece that I want to
Because you
highlight
live in
is
Venezuela, which is a beautiful country.
so we are a beautiful country, and it's not a surprise probably to most people that we've gone through a lot. It's been
Yeah.
20 years or 15 years of a lot of turmoil, of a lot of wanting change, of a lot of circumstances that haven't made Venezuela the country that it used to be, maybe, or the best country in the world, but we're actually incredibly joyful people through it. You
Mm.
would think that people that are going through what we've gone through would have lost some of the spark, but I still meet a Venezuelan and it's like my soul lights up and it's part of our essence. It's part of who we are. So if you've ever met a Venezuelan, I think that's something that would stand out, but it wouldn't be intuitive to think we still keep that spark that makes us us. So
That's really
that's
interesting, and you can certainly see it in you. So, so thanks for making sure you keep that and share it here. Now,
yeah.
coming from Venezuela, you have you want to pursue a master's program, and I would imagine first on your list is let me go find the most prestigious university I can find.
Absolutely. No. So, and I know you're asking this, you know this story.
Oh, I
So,
know. I'm leading the witness, 100% leading the witness.
yes, 100%. So, when I was coming to the US, I have a sister that had already moved here. I knew that immigration was just a very tall task in general for any human going through it. And when you're doing it, I was thinking about if this is going to be a hard stage of my life where I'm working hard, where I'm changing my life, where I'm going into a new culture, I want to do that in a place that is beautiful, that is something that I wake up every day, that I feel inspired by, that I feel that if I get depressed, at least I'm depressed in a beautiful place. So I Googled something like most beautiful cities, most happiest cities in the US, and Boulder, Colorado showed up. And then it turned out that there was actually a university that had a master's that matched my career. My brother-in-law knew the university, he could vouch for the quality of it. But truthfully, it was let me find a beautiful place, and then oh my God, it actually has the master's that I need in my career. So that's how I ended up here.
A very happy coincidence. So you come here to do that program. You do the program, and then off to start working. Now it's interesting because of that when I think telecom, I think big switches, I think gear, I think these sorts of things. But your
Yep.
focus and your desire was really to dig into it on the software side, which even when there's hardware under the covers, it really is software that drives it all.
Correct. And even when I started my career, so I was doing the master's and I started working at Seiyu Group, which is more of an infrastructure company. And as I was there, my first focus was APIs into the systems. Every
Yeah.
single API that our customers use to interact with the business, that's the first thing that I raised my hand and said, I can drive that, we can do it, let's get into that space. So it truly was, I still went into infrastructure, but I made a software pocket inside of the company and said, we're going to approach our customers from a software perspective. And they gave me the opportunity to do that. So it all was able to connect really nicely. And then I'm at Rackspace on the technology side. So it's turned out well.
I love that. Now, that actually brings up something I thought would be interesting to talk about, and that is, when going from, because we have a lot of viewers who are younger in their career. Not saying they're
Yes.
watching the show and not doing their job, but I love that they're here.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is a fact of modern careers is that you won't spend your entire career at a single organization. It's not like my father, who was a lifer with IBM. I mean, literally out of the Navy, joined up with IBM in his early 20s,
Yeah.
retired when he was in his 60s, and that was the mark for that generation. But what that brings up is an interesting point, and that is, how do you leave an organization well? So, what advice do you have for how to, when it comes time to go, and everyone always has a last day somewhere? How do you leave well?
That's a great question. I think number one, and this is going to sound a little weird, living well starts since your first day at the new job. You build
That does sound
relationships.
weird. To unpack that for me.
I will unpack it. So, when you join a company, you're entering an agreement where you're assuming both parties are interested in doing something amazing together. And when you enter that agreement, you have to build two things with your leadership team, with the people that you're working with, and it's trust and transparency of your career path. That means you communicate where you want to go, what roles you would like to take on, you raise your hand for new opportunities. But it also means you're communicating here's how I'm growing, here's where I see myself going, here's how my career is shaping up.
Yeah.
One of the big blessings that I had at my previous companies, I had amazing leaders rooting for me, and they were rooting for me making the company successful, but they were also rooting for me shining and going after my dreams and going after the career that I wanted. So but when it came time to leave, it was not necessarily a surprise for the leaders that had rooted in me and that had invested in me that
Yeah.
it was time for the next great step. I had you need to train your team, you need to have a succession plan, you need to have people that are going to stay in the company and keep on going with the mission. But that conversation is it's time for what we've talked about our entire careers here. It's time for that next great step. And I had all of those leaders honestly having my back through it. I didn't have an exit where you go and say one day to the other, this is what's happening. It's something that when you have that trust and when you have great leaders in the industry, it's a natural path. So be transparent and trust your leadership and work with the company that you're in. And do not be afraid to say, I've outgrown these circumstances. I'm ready for the next step.
Yeah.
where is that big next opportunity that's going to take me to the next level? And that was Rackspace for me. So
I love that so much. Now, Marie, who I love that you're commenting so much in here, so thank you so much. Everyone, be like Marie. But Marie says her advice was be a contractor when I asked the question, how do you leave well? But that begs the question or the difference. There's a difference between being able to leave well and being able to leave quickly.
yes,
I think leaving well sometimes it can be a longer exit because you are working in partnership with your organization as opposed to I'm a contractor. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm done.
and you cared. I think that there's a mutual care and investment that you put in. And when you care, to your point, you take a little bit more time. You care about the humans that you're working with. You've cared for a mission for so long. I was at my previous company for 6 years. So it's almost like a breakup that you have to treat nicely and treat yourself gently through it.
Yeah. Now, you bring up the word care, and because there is so much heart and so much, you can't just, you know what phrase I hate? I didn't plan to talk about this today, but you know what phrase I hate is, hey, it's not personal, it's just business. That's the
Oh,
worst phrase. That's the worst phrase in the human dialect language, and ultimately because if you're doing it well, it is both personal and it is business. Because you said it super well. Your leaders are rooting for you, not for
yeah,
your position, for
yeah.
you.
No, I agree. I think one of the things that has made my career successful is bringing my full self to work. I've never been
Mm,
able to say, let me just treat this as a job. I've tried, and I
yeah,
continuously try with the advice of my family and friends to treat things as sometimes just a job. But I do bring my heart, I bring my soul, I root for my humans, I invest in everyone that I can. I send the elevator down for people. And ultimately, the people are what makes the company. The people are what makes the essence. And we spend time with each other more than we spend with our families. We spend so much time just working with each other. So I
yeah.
don't think it can actually be anyone that says that they're only doing business. I feel like those are the people that care the most and that are trying to convince themselves that it's just
That they're
business.
talking themselves into it. Well,
Yes.
you and I had a chat before we started this, and I know a little of the story, but I want to just let you unpack it because you said the phrase "bring your whole self to work," and you've been at a couple of different, pretty sizable organizations,
Yeah.
and at Rackspace, we really do strive to make it a welcoming environment for somebody to do that. But maybe you
Yeah.
can talk a little bit about your experience in the past and your experience at Rackspace.
Yes. So one thing, when I joined Rackspace because it was a community of technologists. So I was thinking about technology, I was thinking about talent, I was thinking about agility to the market, I was thinking about AI being at the forefront of that industry. Then I joined my first day, and on my first day, within hours, someone sends me a message and it's like, Buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? Bienvenida a Rackspace, and speaks to me in Spanish. And you have no idea what that simple second meant to me. And I was like, oh my God, I can actually bring myself and speak in both languages. And it was like that moment, I was like, okay, cool. There's like at least one human that I can talk to. And then I joined one of the organization meetings, and there was so much diversity. And I'm not talking check the box diversity. You can tell
Yeah.
when a company has check the box diversity. You can tell when you're the only person in the room that looks a certain way, when I feel like I have to be self-conscious about my accent, when I don't see people that look like me. But I joined this call and there were people from all walks of life, all ages, and it sounds like a movie and it sounds like Rackspace is giving me a script to say this, but it was literally my experience that I joined, and there were a lot of Spanish speaking people, a lot of people from India, a lot of people from different parts of the US, different backgrounds. And for the first time, I actually felt like, one, I was not the odd one out. I was not the
Mm,
one that needed to be careful, that needed to shape myself. But two, like I actually could, to your point, bring not only US lady, which is a lady that has been shaping for 8 years, but Venezuela lady into work and connect with people at that level. And that meant so much to me in a level that is, I wouldn't even say that, oh, Rackspace is diverse, let's make it align. I would say we practice true organic integration of cultures and diversity and backgrounds that
Yeah.
makes you feel different when you're there and just makes the conversation different, the ideas, the collaboration, everything changes when you're in an environment like that. So that has been quite an experience for me. And someone told me yesterday, actually, like, how did you even get this lucky when you were just looking for technology? And I do feel like I got very, very lucky.
Well, as somebody who's been at Rackspace for a number of years, it does my heart good to hear that you can come in from a position of diversity and not feel like you're the odd woman out, and that is amazing. But we do focus here at Rackspace on making sure, and on this show specifically, we do Women in Tech Tuesday. That Tuesday used to be the first of the month. It's sort of whenever we can fit it in with this crazy schedule of ours and my travel. But I'm so glad that you're here and feel like you don't stick out, that you're just part of the team and all of who you are fits into that. Now, I get a lot of emails from folks who moms and dads, people more of my age, and they'll say, hey, I watched the show. I cannot wait to show this to my 12, 13, 14-year-old daughter so that they can see, really what is possible outside of what mom and dad are doing. And so I have a question I didn't tell you I was going to ask you, but I ask it all the time.
Okay.
And that is not only giving advice to these young folks who are going to watch this, but what if you were, and do it through the lens of, what if you were going to give advice to 12-year-old Leidy? And of what the possibilities really could be, and to encourage her, what would you say?
I think, and this is not a plug, so the parents will like me, but number one, listen to your parents. My parents particularly were incredibly supportive, and they are dreamers in nature. Ever since I was growing up, like, this dream of studying abroad and doing these things didn't come suddenly because of how Venezuela was doing or anything like that. My parents also pushed me to, what is your wildest dream? How do we make it happen? What do you want to do? You have to see the world. You have to do all of these things. So do believe that that is possible, and that there is a way, and that there isn't one path to do things exactly how you think they look. There's multiple paths to doing those things. And the second one would be, try everything that you can try. One advice is, my mom and my dad, they put us in every single class that we came up with. We're like, one day we're modeling, one day we're dancing flamenco, one day we're like doing an extra chemistry class, like anything that we thought of, that we woke up and was like, oh, mom, I want to try to make putty. How do we make putty or slime? Anything was a go to try it out. So I would say, do keep trying everything, and don't be afraid to quit, which is also controversial advice.
That is.
You don't have to stay with the first thing that sparks your imagination. You don't have to stay with the first thing that sparks your fun. Try everything out, and if it didn't spark more joy, go on to the next thing and quit remorseless and go forward trying different things out. So for 12-year-old Leidy, it's that part and that spirit of, I'm going to try everything once. I'm going to believe what my parents are telling me, that I can actually be anything I want. And then just follow through with that and keep dreaming well into adulthood. Don't stop just because you're supposed to be an adult now and you're not supposed to try new things. So that's what
I love it. In technology, we have that fun phrase of fail fast. How can I get to the failure
Yes.
quickly so that I can fix it and then move on? Why not apply that to other areas? You say quit, I say fail fast and move on. That is great
And that's
advice.
where innovation happens. When you risk to fail, when you fall flat on your face, when you're like, can I try this thing out for a second? And if it fails, we'll figure something else out. And you also need leaders that allow you to have a little fun with doing that.
That's right. And if you don't, let's go back to that part of the conversation of how to leave well and go find some that do.
Exactly.
Well, Leidy, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm going to do a little closing in a second, but I'm going to do something I've never done on the show before. And I'd ask you to close us. I'll say something at the end, but in Spanish. Let's finish this in Spanish.
Okay. Bueno, muchísimas gracias, muchachos, por unirse. Estamos en un mes en que los Estados Unidos se celebra nuestra heritage y que tenemos muchas oportunidades para hacer mucho. Diviértanse, dream big. Eso no era en español, pero déjenme poner el plug. Y vengan al próximo episodio para que vean a Jeff con más personas para que estén inspirados. Chaito.
Lady, thank you so much. Everyone, thanks for watching the show here today. As you know, we're here every Tuesday morning that I'm not traveling somewhere crazy. In fact, I think I'm in somewhere next week, so this show will be on the road. But we'll be back next Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. Central Time. I do hope you will join us. We'll have all the info on the guest and the information coming up shortly. And I would love all of you to be as much like Marie today in the comments, who has had so much great stuff to share. Marie, thank you. I don't think I've seen your name in here as much before, but thanks for being a big part of the show as well. Everyone, have an amazing rest of your day, and we will see you next Tuesday. Everyone, have an amazing day. Where's my go away music? Not there. Oh, that changed. All right. And anyway.